I'm Steve Crawford. I'm the herd vet. I'm a part owner of the Newry Veterinary Service clinic out of Newry, Ontario, and I've been doing Marvin's work for a little over a year now. General first impressions from the product are when I talk to Marvin about his trust in the product, he has a high amount of trust in it. What I see on farm, he uses it in his daily TMR, but he also uses it as a top dress on his fresh cows and also in his baby calves. To comment on the health or the efficiency of how he uses it in his cattle, I believe it's a big help for him in his intakes and also in his vitamin and mineral status on those transition cows. It helps drive his intakes. Whenever we test for subclinical ketosis here, Marvin seems to do quite well. The cows do well. He has very little ketosis issues. It's quite clear that cows come through the dry period and into the lactation with appetites, good condition, and that also then leads to very few health issues. We've treated a few cases of pneumonia. We've had one LDA surgery, so both well under any benchmarks we'd see on a herd size like this. Cows come into their cycle, they clean, they start milking and producing milk quite quickly after milking. When we do our fresh checks, I'm very happy with how they have come through the calving period and the transition period, and enough of that I would attribute to Boviglo, mainly increasing their intakes and always having that vitamin and enough vitamins and minerals in that background that they can then it's another block that they don't have to worry about having, that's supported with them or given to them, that we don't have to worry about giving to them, especially with all these cows that are being stressed as fresh cows. Marvin's well above average. Not is he only above average, he is well above average when it comes to a 2x or twice a day milking in a tie stall facility like this, and the liters or the standard milk that Marvin kicks out the door is very impressive. It has been, and it's not just a 1 month spike. He has hit high production in an average well over 40 kilograms, and he's maintained that without any issues over the last 6, 8, 10 months almost now. So his payback on the product is definitely there with that, plus some. So Marvin currently is sitting at and has been for the last few months in the high 20s or almost 29% pregnancy rate. So that's a general term that we use in the industry. That's an all-encompassing term to get a measure on how well Marvin does heat detection and also how well he breeds or how well his conception rate. So it's one number that gives us a large look at pretty much his reproductive efficiency on the herd. Any herd in 20s, the Ontario average is 15 or 16%. Any herd that's above 20, generally that would be the goal that we would always achieve, whether it's a tie stall or a free stall herd. Most tie stall herds have a lot of trouble getting above 25, and the extra labor costs and investments that are needed to get above 25 are generally not worth it. So for Marvin to be at milking in a tie stall herd with its disadvantages reproductively, to be sitting at a 29% preg rate is almost, it's not just impressive, it's phenomenal. It's by far the highest preg rate we have in our out of our tie stall herds, and we tend to we deal with our average tie stall herd rate. Preg rate is still at 22%, but Marvin is 5% higher than any other herd that we're dealing with right now. I think the biggest thing for Marvin right now is his conception rate. His conception rate drives a lot of his numbers. He's over 50% on his conception rate currently. So that tells me that the breeder is doing his job, but mainly those cows are ovulating, they're coming into fertile heats, they're ovulating fertile follicles, and not only are they coming into fertile heats, they're also they are healthy enough reproductively, metabolically, that they maintain these pregnancies, which is a huge risk, especially when we tie back to the amount of the production level that this herd is at. It would be expected that these cows would lose some of their pregnancies or be a little bit trickier, harder to get in calf because of the amount of energy that comes in and has to go out in the form of milk, that they wouldn't be using it for reproduction. But to see Marvin at the liters that he's producing or his cows are producing, and the reproductive efficiency that he's doing is phenomenal. It really is. I think when you speak about chemistry and natural products, we've gotten too far away from chemistry being, if this is, let's say, a mineral or a vitamin, and it's produced or synthesized and it's created and it can be measured at so much of a diet, then we all assume that if it's in the diet as measured by a laboratory technique, then that's what the cow is getting. And I think there's a lot more knowledge coming out now that just because something is, let's say, in the ration or in the diet, or it can be detected through a laboratory technique, doesn't mean that's available for the cow. There's a big difference between minerals or vitamins that are bioavailable to a cow and what we can see on paper in a ration. And I think what we're getting to now is a point where not only are these nutrients in the ration or being top dressed, they're also very available to the cow. Nutrients are useless if they're on the paper and unavailable to the cow. And I feel like we're going a bit more that way, just as a general industry. But on the farm here, where there's a very big push that nutrients that are on the paper are available to the cow. So with going that way, when you're using more organic natural products, generally they are much more higher bioavailability, so you can be assured that what you're feeding to the cow is actually getting used by the cow. And it's not just a rounding error on a piece of paper that leaves you questioning how much is actually getting absorbed. So I would say in that sense that much of what Marvin is using with the Boviglo directly gets absorbed by that cow very quickly and gets utilized right away, as opposed to being excreted out the back end.